Had a discussion with a farmer a couple of weeks ago, and one of the things that came up was Prospector View Park, and I expected the farmer to take a very aggro look at it because me and my simpleness, it was all the miners that really made it around here too, and there were some incredible families and some incredible people, and there's still mines that are up there, and this farmer said to me, a prospector's view is a viewpoint of anyone that wants to look at something and make it better, or find the gold within. He said, I took what you had named that as my prospector's view of my orchard. And I hadn't even thought of it that way, but this is kind of the theme of where we're going today, because a year ago, last couple of weeks ago, we had our first council meeting, and one of the things I stood up and talked about for over an hour was I want to propose a new park. 120 acres that was not going to cost anybody anything. And we've lived up to that pretty close. You know, nothing in life is free. I have a pretty good investment in it myself, but I want you to know this has come about, and I just want to hit the highlights on it. We have a new parking lot. We have new trails. We have a restroom. We utilized nearly 2,000 volunteer hours in a brand new park. We've had machines that are up there digging these trails, and they exist. And some of you can attest to that because it's a view, it's a prospector's view that you've never had before. And what we're going to see in the next year is going to be even greater because those volunteer hours and everything else is not going to disappear. We at present have about 6 miles of riding trails. We have picnic tables, more picnic tables on order, and we have places to put them all. The bridge has been designed, and as of 10 days ago, it's been sitting in the county engineer's office waiting for approval. We will put that in hopefully before the high waters hit, and the high waters this year are going to be high. At this point, I would dare say we're going to see high water. There's a lot more trails that are coming in 2023. And a lot of that has to do with not only the Bonneville shoreline, but being able to meet with some of the developers that are working around our city right now. And that Bonneville shoreline has been funded with extra federal funding to help us to develop it. And I'm going to go after that to help us hook into all of those. We have about 3 or 4 places where we will actually take our park down and connect. We will have a trailhead that's in our facility that will be part of the Bonneville shoreline. And I've talked with state and everybody else to get this rolling. I have meetings with the state WMA, which is the Wildlife Management Agency, who handles all the state WMA properties, and we'll be talking about trails through the state land. I met with the district ranger, and we went over trails to get into theirs as well. This is what I presented a year ago, and we're pretty much online with that. Even the one that comes up through the main canyon, we're now at the point we will be building extra trails to go through. And just if I could tell you, one of the neatest things in life is to envision a park, to have a mini excavator underneath you digging a trail, and have people ride up from way out of our city and say, where does the trail go? And about the only answer I could give sitting in the seat was, hang on another 10 minutes, I'll get you another 10 feet. But these people are coming from everywhere just to ride it and to see our place. One of the things that we're doing too are all the new projects and some of the old projects that existed. 13 months ago, I sat with our UDOT District 3, not what they are, engineers with
Region 3.
Region 3 with Norm and with previous administration. And as they said, well, it'll be decades before we even consider your interchange. Don't even count on it. And I'm glad he told me that. You know, if he'd have told me that I couldn't play a piano, I probably would be playing a piano right now, because people don't tell me I can't do anything. We hosted all of the region board members in Utah. So there's like 9 regions. They all came to Santaquin. And boy, we took advantage of it. We put them on a bus. We took them around town. When we invite people in, we invite them at 7:30 to 8:30 in the morning for meetings. Not because I'm crazy about being down here at 7:30, but I want them to struggle through the traffic that we see and put up with all the time. And it's worked. It's worked in some pretty fun ways. But this has led us to figure out how to do what we have to do next, and that is help with the corridor. We've had funds that have been allotted to us. We got $1.7 million in funds to buy property for that corridor preservation, so we could move some of our roads around and not lose any buildings in doing it, as well as take care of our commercial area and give the state open eyes to what they could envision here, because we're going into the environmental impact study timeframe, and we have a bunch of people that we're working with on that to get that funded. Also, we have some ongoing preservation, corridor preservation times or negotiations that we will be bringing more of the property together as we have time to do so. In the meantime, getting this environmental impact statement ready and going is critical to the movement of the project at all. If we don't do it, well, it gets put off until we do it. I've been meeting with county commissioners, and I'm on very good terms with all of them. The state senators, Santaquin has 4 represented state senators that meet in Santaquin, that their boundaries meet because of the new changes. And I've got them all. And I've talked to them all, talked to the Congress, Congressman Owens constantly about things like this, as well as Senator Romney. He's on board and with it. But also the state senators and the House of Representatives, they're all a part of this. They even had representatives that came to that board meeting for all of those regional representatives that were here for the board. And we've made an impact, and we've made headway, and we continue to meet with these people, and this will go forward. Had we not done this, 25, 30 years out to even consider it would still be on the table. So in 1 year, I'm now getting funding for step 2. And I'm pretty proud of where that is right now. We have a couple of evaluations that we had funded as well. I got a little beside myself in one of the first meetings I attended, seeing $500 million be approved by the mayors in this area. At the end of the meeting, I kind of stood up and gave them my peace of mind at the time, and maybe that isn't a good way to put it. I was very instructive as to what would fit better in the sense of Santaquin City. So as a result, we were awarded some funds that we began a study that went from 400 East to 900 East, which encapsulated where that new interchange would be. And we've also turned our focus along 400 East to the north, down through the fields, and also those roads that lead out around that go to the Nebo School District property, which now makes them look all the way back, not only to the interchange, but to 400 East, how cars will get to that intersection and be able to get to schools that are planned down there. So I think we've been quite wise. We're looking at all the county roads. We're looking at where Nebo School District has been. And all of this leads to the next part of this. Now, one thing I do want to say is the previous administrations have put a lot of work in. And I do not ever want to say, we don't ever want to look at that again, because many, many hours, many things, many thoughts, even funding have been put into some of these programs that I'll talk about here in a few minutes. One of those was the widening of Main Street. And the widening of Main Street became one of the talking points also of, we need to fix the interchange, because all we're doing is funneling people into the interchange a little bit more. And this design, which our engineering has been working diligently with the funding over the last 2 years, something like that?
A little over a year.
And it has funded what will become not only phase 4, but phase 5 as well, which takes from 100 east in phase 4 to about, 300 east to about 100 west. And that includes a brand new crossing light signal light at Center Street. The reason behind this was a lot of discussion, bringing in all of these senators and everybody else, as well as that board of UDOT that looked at it and said, okay, we will fix this. And so the light is coming, and because of the way money comes for these federal projects, Highway 6, which is our main street, is a federal project. UDOT is responsible for its property lines from north to the south side, all the way through town. So we're in the process, and I think we've gone through most of that with meeting with property owners, letting them know what's going on. Any questions that's coming along, we'll make sure that they're answered. But phase 4, I've already asked Mountain Land Association of Governments to consider putting phase 4 and phase 5 together and not string it out so long that we have construction endless for 10 blocks. And they talked about it. We were in a meeting last first of the year, and we talked about it for quite some time. So they're considering it, seeing what they can rearrange. But right now, phase 4 is this year's money that can go another year or so, and phase 5 is the next year's money. So we'll just go with that, with the planned construction, and move on. And the next one is the Summit Ridge Tank, which the project was well into its construction phase, had been designed well when we took office in January of last year. The tank has been built. It's been tested. It has had water completely filling it, and everything has passed. The pipelines have been connected all the way through the city, so it's not just, oh, this is only one spot and it'll handle just this one spot. It connects throughout the city, and it has about 3.2 million gallons in that tank, and a booster pump station that sits at the bottom down near the park ground that we own on the north end of Summit Ridge. And it's just good to know that over the last few years, while Summit Ridge was being built, it was also being watered, all the lawns and everything else, with culinary water, expensive water. Now we can take pressurized irrigation, and it will be ready to go when the water is turned on this spring. We've got just a little bit more of that big black pipe to lay that you can see out there. It's about 500 feet. and we're ready to go. So it's within budget, and everything is online. The new city hall is an interesting thing. You know, when I was elected and the rest of us were elected last year, I just kept thinking, wow, I haven't even thought about this. I haven't looked at the plans. And the building is absolutely beautiful. It is a statement, not that we're affluent, not that we're outdoing the neighbors, but it's a statement that we're proud of this city and we're proud of the people that have put time in to design it. We're going to be putting a new time capsule in it. We're going to be we're going to be cutting a ribbon. It will be done in 2023. Should have been done a year or so ago with supply chains and with manpower and with everything else. We are where we're at, but it's within budget, and it's going to have a beautiful use. Next year when we have this meeting, we'll be in a new room, and we should look forward to that. We're also going to relocate the library one of these days to the West Wing. Who knows? Maybe it'll be something else, but that's the intent. Some of the projects that we've done also are the Harvest View Sports Complex. This was completed last summer, and we invested $3.5 million into that complex that gives over 400 parking spaces rather than out in the gravel. It's on asphalt. It's a beautiful complex. People in early December with snowstorms was playing pickleball out there. They love that sport. I don't even know the rules of it yet, but it has beautiful restrooms. It's money well spent, and you know what? Our future is our kids, but I sure see a lot of older kids playing pickleball. So that is a good thing. The taxpayers are out there whacking that ball around. So we have a lot in our recreation program, and that recreation program increases every year. We have so many good things going on, so many good things for the children and for the grown-ups. Even if I could go back and say one of the biggest surprises to me through the year was going to Monday night in the park and listening to the music. That was absolutely a joy. And whoever thought that up, and it came through the recreation, but other people had input, this was a good move. One of the things that we promised as we ran for this council was to bring jobs, to bring money in that will help us as we go forward. And the vision that we saw was the Santaquin Peaks Industrial Park. Santaquin City owns 66 acres, but 10 or 11 of those are the roadways that go down through Summit Ridge. We still own them. We're still paying a little bit on them. But we have 55 acres of city-owned property out there, and it was all zoned Industrial 1. It was a no-brainer, especially as we talked about it. We funded some of it through last year's budget last June. And I struggled going through those papers, going in and out of a board to a council, because the state law allows cities to become a commercial development agency wherewith they can take publicly held land and not have to sell it out on an open market like a bid and have to just put up with what you would get in the end. Doing so, I felt especially, and the council all has agreed, that if we can maintain how we sell this, we won't end up with 55 acres of storage units or something that we didn't want. So we exclusively, through lawyers, took out that kind of wording in the building. We dumbed down the building code a little bit so that we could get industrial businesses, and we had those businesses come to us, as well as went to some of them. But we wanted to generate taxes, we wanted to create jobs, and we wanted to be able to have something that would go on in sales tax on and on as those businesses set up. Now, that also means that we needed to look at the bus line. You know, we could move people around and they could go to work because people are going to work out there. And so we are in the negotiations still. We're discussing, and I think every one of us in different meetings have sat down with the transportation committees in this county and said we need to change the bus route, give it a chance to pick up people, maybe drop them off at the new park out in the west, and away we go. I think it was a good way to look at it. And the one thing you need to know right now, this is a half a mile north of where Summit Ridge building ends, and it mostly surrounds those ponds that we have out there. The one thing that I did want to say was in this industrial park, we wanted to find a way to fund it. I didn't want to go to the city, and I don't think that any of the council wanted to go to the city and say, hey, let's raise the taxes so we can build some roads and put some pipes in the ground and have an industrial park that pays us absolutely zero right now, but turn it into something that's going to give us taxes and jobs and everything else. We did this by self-funding it, but also we did it, didn't have to raise a bond, didn't have to raise taxes, but we did it by going out and working with inventive ways to handle this. The inventive way was this CDRA, and the CDRA, we can sell a few lots and pay for all the infrastructure. All the rest is gravy. So we'll come out a little ahead with the first little bit, and we'll come out a long way ahead with everything else. The next, one of the promises that was made was we were going to work on the canyon. And every couple of weeks and more than that, I meet with Congressman Owen's office. I'm talking to the district ranger, and in fact, he and I went for a ride just a couple of days ago. I got a call from Congressman Owen's office last Wednesday. Phase 2 of the canyon is funded, and they've taken out all the restrictions. None of this has to be a small business set aside, woman-owned, anything. It is come and bid on it. We're going for it. And with getting that, I think they're going to open this up. Now, because we put some barricades, we, and I say our city crew, were able to put a couple of barricades. We opened the door so that we could go to Trumboldt and use it, have it as a picnic ground. Now, keep in mind, all of this work that we're doing, even though phase 2 is on, they're bidding it starting after the middle of February. That's what I was told. So I don't know when that date comes about, but they're going to have this construction season to work on it. White Pine Slide's already down, covering the road. It's a mess. And so I don't know if they're going to dig it out and go on. Be wise if they did, but with all the snow we have up the canyon, I'm not going to beat a drum and say, hey, we'll be doing construction the 1st of June, but Trumboldt will be open until the heavy construction starts above there, and it looks really good. One of the initiatives that I took on starting in January was to meet with 4 businesses a month. And I don't know if any of you have thought about that, but I took about any kind of business you would like. I had Ben and Norm with me on one of the first ones, and I know that they looked at me like, you are nuts. But it was a very neat discussion. And it took that guy by complete surprise. I thought we had him won, But it's kind of hard to think, oh, I can sell a business to a guy and have him out here throwing millions of dollars around in no time. And no, it wasn't. It was a little bit of an eye opener, but I'm not afraid to meet with him. And it was productive. It taught us things. Will he go away? Maybe not. Maybe he'll still be back. Who knows? But I have continued to go to those 4 businesses every month, not the same, and try to start something new here. And you would be amazed at where I talk with people. One of the funnest ones for me was Topgolf. I had to go back to their original headquarters and try to talk them into it. And you know what? They didn't strike us out. They weren't going to fund it this year, that's for sure. But you know what? It was another thing. And we'll keep going. Every kind of business we can look at. And those are important. This kind of led to some economic summits that I wanted to have. So I called together, I had 2 different council at a few of these meetings that would go with me so they could throw out some questions as well, but they were business leaders at first, and I tried to not get the same 10 people every time. And so these business leaders came in and we talked with them about what kind of businesses do you need in town? What would help your business grow if they came to town? And could you justify us going and meeting with them? And what would be the best kind of business that you could see here? And it was amazing, some of the input that we got back. I let that sit for about a month, maybe 6 weeks, and then we called a second meeting, brought them in and said, okay, you've thought about it for a month, let's build up a list. And we did, and questions were thrown out, and the list got a little bit longer with some interesting things. And they went away, and the thought was, well, we can't bring them back. They've already got businesses. And so I went to all the developers. I said, okay, guys, come in. I want to talk about business. I want to talk about commercial. I want to talk about economic development in town. And we had quite a few of them show up. And questions went out. Discussion was incredible. And one of them took a very long time, which went back to our number 1 issue, the pinch point of the interchange on Main Street. Why should we develop our land in this area if you have a pinch point and people don't want to turn and go to it? Which only brought one more argument back into our senator and congressman's repertoire that they could now take to the state to see if we can get funded. Those economic developers were interesting because they took all of the things we asked for and started to look at it. I now have a list of about 15 or 20 different people that are interested in the economic development of Santaquin, and we'll talk about those business owners in just a minute, but they are the others. Some of those commercial developments that we have going is Murdoch Ford. Blake told me just a couple of weeks ago they will be building in the end of February. They didn't want to be pouring concrete in the snow, so they're getting ready to go. McDonald's is coming, AutoZone we talked about even tonight. And our industrial park is going to be under construction within just a few weeks. We are moving along, we're not dragging our feet. Those others are the businesses that I can't bring up tonight, but I want to tell you there are many businesses that are fun to think about that are considering being in Santaquin. And it's because we put some work in. And if you want to think about that yourself, think about a business you would like to bring and go talk to the guy. You know, see how tough that discussion is. So one of the things that always, or at least over the last few years, has funded us is our growth. And to me, that has been a difficult pill to swallow because I didn't think it could be sustained for very long. We had 263 new residential dwellings in the whole calendar year, but only 50 of them since 1st of July. If you put that into perspective, that's when all the interest rates went up and everything else. We've also only had 2 new commercial spaces, but we've got things going on those. We've had 17 new subdivisions or phases of those, and we have about 346 new lots that are recorded. Does that include the 700, or does that take us over 1,000?
Recorded. Those are the ones that they've gone through and have either bonded for or put the improvements in.
Yeah. We have 3 new development agreements, and we're still working away. I know that you say, gosh, stop the growth. Pretty much our way of life stops the growth at times, but we try to control, yet make sure that people's property rights are understood. We have to stand behind that as well. So in 2022, we've changed a few things. The ADUs we talked about earlier for R10 compliance, that actually expanded where it was originally. It was the core of town that had ADUs for a few years. By going to R10, there's a few bigger lots outside of that that would allow for a small ADU, a mother-in-law apartment or something like that to be built on it, and we could control it and we'd still be within compliance of the state. The minimum state road width, or our minimum road widths, were changed so that we have 36 feet of asphalt and putting sidewalks on both sides of the road. I know Mayor Hunsaker was working on that, and he was behind it 100%. He wanted to make sure, and he and that previous council made a lot of these things happen as I'm even talking about them. I don't want to take all the credit. We showed in rezoning that we weren't willing to take commercial and turn it to residential, and I think it was fairly well stated, and we have had a lot of people that have come into the city hall and said, you know, we want to change this and do it. And pretty much the staffs, while I've been standing there, say, you know, this council is not ready to make those kind of changes. We suggest you don't do that right now. Focus on the commercial. I had one group that came in that meet with me continually about investing in Santaquin, and they started with, we want to do residential on part of this commercial, and the discussion that was held with the staff and myself, they're now looking at all kinds of things, from hotels, restaurants, a lot of stuff. And there are people that want to invest in a good community, and we fit that bill. We've rezoned where we've expanded a commercial and a light manufacturing, and that's over right near the Eakins property on the west side. Erkenbrack's property, yeah, on the west side of town. The main thing that we want to do, and I think I got that statement tonight, was Santaquin wants to be business friendly. And when we change codes that will make it more, it's that we're looking at all the aspects that will do that. Parking, everything. And they come up piece by piece. Government is slow at times, so we're still working on parking regulations. However, there were 4 cases that had been changed previous to our administration, and we have held to that the parking requirements for businesses are making it. And it's proven with pictures after snowstorms, so that it's not, oh, nobody was ever there, or nobody parked there, or blah, blah, blah. It was proven. And
it's residential and businesses combined.
Yeah, that's true. And then water-wise landscaping. There's a part of this where people have even said to us, you know, you're not letting us xeriscape. Well, some HOAs have that in there, and that has to be changed because the state changed it last year. But Santaquin in its code allows for xeriscape, period. It has never cut it out in the last few years. So we do meet those requirements that are coming down. I want to move on to water. I've heard a few times, how can we grow? We don't have enough water. Well, let me tell you something. Santaquin is only using about 45 to 50% of its capacity. We still have well and water rights. We still have the ability to bring more culinary water in, but we also have the ability to put that water into other areas of the city so that that culinary goes to some of those new places where we can build out. And that building is not bad because we have children. We'd like them to live around us. Or good neighbors. Gosh, we love good neighbors. Those bad ones, no. I'll find places for them to move. But good neighbors. Pressurized irrigation. We have Summit Creek irrigation and canal water, and we use our shares. Some go into pressurized irrigation. Some make their way in other ways, but we control it. We have 100% use of our WRF, which is our sewer. Every time you flush a toilet, every time you do your dishes or wash your hands in the sink or brush your teeth, we get that water. And we put it through the system, and we have the ability and the legal right to that water through the state granted to us. Right now we're running about just under 1,000 feet, or
Just under
1,000
a million gallons a day.
Yeah, that's probably a better way to do it. And that's why I have Norm. He can fix me every now and again. We still have the Central Utah Water Project coming. You know, it was stated a year and a half ago that that would never make it, and they are getting ready to bid. We're getting very close to that, and figure by mid-spring to early summer that bidding process will take place. All of the right-of-ways are now taken care of, and the paperwork's all done, the drawings are done. It's amazing the amount of work that they put in. They do drilling, they make arrangements, they make deals with property owners, and that is nearly complete. The bidding process will lead to the construction, and that should start maybe next spring, depending on when they want to pull the trigger and how the last two reaches go in Salem. They need to finish up Salem. We become the very last, and that's okay. We're just fine. We're poised to make that first year's payment. We're poised to be able to utilize that water. So we're in very good shape. The stormwater on the East Bench has been a worry ever since the mudslides happened after we got about 2 inches of rain in a matter of a couple of hours, and right after, within a year of the Molly fire. As a result of all of that mud flow and everything else, Norm was very instrumental a couple of years ago to move ahead and get federal funding that put us into this $9.1 million. However, we've still got some challenges ahead of it. As you looked on the bench, you've seen different drill rigs up there at times, or different cuts that were being made. They were looking for faults. They were looking for places that were the ideal spots to put these last 4 debris basins in. And we're at about 90% design on that.
60%.
Oh, later in 2023 we'll be there, but 60% now, 90% within a few months, and the responsibility we still have outside of that $9.1 million is we have to find either smart ways to get the land, ways that we could trade the land, ways in which we could just outright purchase the land to protect all of the homes that are there, plus where the water would go across the interstate. So all of that is taken into consideration, and we're moving further ahead. We'll work on those acquisitions of properties, and sometime maybe late this year or early next year, we'll start that construction process, which will protect all of those areas below those mud flows. So Santaquin Canyon has a debris basin that sits in the mouth of the canyon, looks like a great big dam. That dam is going to go up another damn 13 feet. Some of you saw it. That allows it for more capacity. That's also going to try to handle all of the waters that flow out of there. And having had firsthand knowledge and work on that 40 years ago, I know what this canyon can produce. And these guys are right on. This is a discussion even that's held within the irrigation company, in the board meetings there, in the flood meetings, which are held every month. And it's not just being swept aside like, oh, it'll happen. That dam is not in very good shape. It was built over 70 years ago, and it was built with not the best of materials. So we have a good amount of funding that goes towards it, and the state and the county to go along with us to make sure it's there. We still have the water reclamation facility, and I've already mentioned that we have the type 1 water reuse that comes out of there. As the city grows, that number grows. It's still 100% of whatever comes out of it. We've been running it for 10 years, and we've saved now over 2 billion gallons of water. And if you think about that, we've turned 2 billion gallons of crap water into type 1 water, which is actually cleaner than what runs out of the canyon. So that was a good investment. It's a way in which we get more than one use out of water. We are right now running at about 50% capacity. That's after 10 years. And within the next couple of years, and this is not like a surprise, but we've already been discussing what do we need to look at, where do we go, how much is it going to cost, start getting all of those things put together so we can have a plan when we have to increase this. And we'll do it. This isn't the last because we still have a few more slides to go, and I've only been going for about 40 minutes, and you guys need to be bored more than you are. So for the last 8 years, the budget and revenue in this city have centered around growth, those houses and everything else that's gone in. When we came in, we had this discussion. And early on, I had this discussion with Ben before he left, and with Norm in those first, well, and Norm was in those discussions too, but Norm and I have had these discussions, and Jason has been along with at times, like, we can't count on the growth. And in June, we were looking at it. And we had to pass a budget, but we also went into, we've passed this budget, but to all of the groups that work for the city, Public Works, Recreation, Fire, Police, stop. If it's a need, we're going to entertain it. If it's a want, we may get around to it, but we're going to be wise with all of our spending. And we were on top of that and looked very hard at the first quarter of growth. And if you'll have noticed, we had 50 homes since July 1st, the first quarter, till now that have been built, as opposed to 300 and something last year, okay, 2 years ago. So the important thing was this council, every one of us, looked at this and even had to talk to the heads of the departments whom some of the council have responsibilities for and say needs and wants, and that's what we have to do. And there are things that we had to do through that, and we will modify the budget as we go. But if you will have noticed, the institution of a brand new facility, the bringing up of a brand new pressurized irrigation tank and pipes, everything was within budget. And we are within budget. We've had staffing changes, lots of staffing changes since January of last year. And we've had to make some tough decisions along the way. And the hardest decision, I think, came with COVID and what we were handed with COVID and what's happening to this economy. And you like to just reach through the television and strangle people every now and again because it's like, what are you thinking? But revenue is revenue. We have to look at it the way in which will be a benefit to this city. We look at federal funds. We look at state funds. We look at what's available through the county. We look at what we can generate. And we watch these revenues and how it affects us. But we also look at our employees, the equipment that they use, and what we need to do to maintain this city. Is I don't want somebody to go, we couldn't get an ambulance out there because we just can't pay to staff it. We can't get a fire engine out there because nobody will come. They're not being paid enough for it. Just doesn't work like it used to work. And same with every other department. And so we looked at them and we swallowed hard pills, but we were working with them. Keep in mind that the revenue was down through those building permits, but we've seen some sales tax come up. We've seen other revenues that came in, but currently we are within that budget with the changes that we have had to make. And that's with making sure that our employees are getting what they deserve. And are we holding off on expenditures? You bet, still are. And we will. And we're starting a new budget season, which we're going to be in meetings starting within just 3 weeks. And we'll go through every line item through there to make sure that we're fiscally responsible for every dollar that shows up. Because now we're living with a lot of things from the past. One of those wasn't a tax increase. How do we continue? Revenue comes in through some ARPA funds. We were able to make some fantastic decisions as a council to bring in a couple of groups that helped us, but also meetings and almost in a trial where we were being asked all kinds of questions, and in the end, I think they said, Santaquin is doing this right. You're operating your water right, and we're going to support you 100%. And we may have been the only ones that they funded 100%. We have grants that we're working on. We had other money that we were able to get to buy property in that corridor preservation for the new interchange. And even though that's out in the future, we're still working on every one of these pieces bit by bit. We're working on the library. We're working on other things. And what are some of those other things? Well, the future revenue that we can see. We have a brand new industrial park that hasn't had to come out of our pockets to fund. And we're going to start seeing money from them coming shortly with a bunch more of land to sell and to bring some more good businesses and jobs into the city. And Santaquin Peaks is a great opportunity for us because all it is now is taking something we were getting nothing out of to positive all the way through. As I said earlier, we haven't increased the taxes in 10 years, and we're evaluating every piece of that as it goes along. I have never said we won't raise taxes, but we are fighting in every way that we can to make sure we're fiscally responsible, that we understand what's going on, and we find innovative ways to bring revenues into this city. And it has been a tireless operation. Our hope is to maintain this budget without a tax increase. And that's where we're going into the budget season, knowing that for the past 8 years, this city has operated on those windfalls that came through growth. What we're going to see now are new jobs, new businesses, and even more growth, because commercial is maybe where we're going to see some neat things happen soon. Lastly, we're going to continue to work with Nephi at Juab County and Utah County. We were able to be instrumental in getting both of those groups together as long as we weren't in the middle of it. And I think it was a smart move, because now we're talking and now we're working around it. We're taking about 24 homes that were in the south end of Santaquin City that are about to be built, and making sure that that money, that tax money, goes to the Nebo school districts, to Santaquin City, to Utah County, and it solves a lot of problems. So we have, as a council, fulfilled, if you go back to the February 9th meeting of last year, I outlined every one of these issues that we've talked about tonight. And we are making a headway. We are doing what we promised to do. We are taking on the challenges. And these councilmen, I just want to say, along with the staff, are working tirelessly to make sure that these dreams are made and that we can stay within the guidelines that we set of being responsible and being wise. And I thank you for coming. I thank you for your time. I did want to give the council a chance to just say something about the things that we have done. And please, we have done them in accordance and in conjunction with the work that has been done previous to us. So I thank those administrations for all they've done. So, Betsy, do you want to add anything?
No, thanks for sharing all the information.
Art?
No, I just hope you read the letter that I wrote that's in the January newsletter, and how appreciative I am for the mayor's leadership and the way that the six of us have been able to work together and accomplish the things that the mayor just outlined. And thank you for your support.
Jeff?
I don't have anything to add. That was a lot.
I haven't done the hour yet. I still got 3 minutes. Dave?
I just want to make a comment that I've been on the council a couple days over some years. It's been really fascinating to watch the energy level that you've brought to the mayorship. Santaquin Santaquin's been in what I call a transition for a little while, but I guess that I always use the comment. People say to me, well, I like Santaquin because of the charm, and I have to ask them, what charm are we talking about? Are we talking about the 1970, 80s charm, or are we talking about today? And they see it today as that it's a nice place to live. To me, I see it as that we've made leaps and bounds from not only the growth, but to me, the energy towards the business thing is I'm most proud of, because to me that's where the future is getting a tax base built here and getting some good businesses in here to go along with the businesses that we've had that's carried this city for a long time. I think we're going down a really positive road, and I appreciate all the work the staff and you do.
Yeah.
Takes everybody to make this work. Even those Wednesday night meetings that are held. I don't mind that. I thank everybody for just putting up with me for the last hour. I've about lost my voice, but you know what? This city council, you and our staff are just incredible. One police officer, yeah. I just thought I'd bring that up, Mike, you know. I do have 3 people that signed up for a public forum, and I would love to give you a chance. And if someone else would like to ask any question about what I have rambled on or talked about for the last little bit, you're more than welcome. But I do want to start, Mike, you were first up.
Hi, I'm Mike Evans. So what the mayor's doing here is kind of a question and answer thing from what I understand, correct?
Sure.
So this started at the Rollbox house a long time ago, and council members and planning and zoning and even our city managers have been showing up to these, and this is a result, tonight's meeting, of that. This city council listens to us. I want to say thank you to all of them for showing up, putting in the extra time. And I'd like to say thank you to the Rollbox for starting this whole thing in their backyard. That's all I have. Thank you guys for everything you do for us.
Thanks, Mike. What did I was going to say something, wasn't I? Let's go on to the next one. Brandon Bowen? Oh, yeah.
Hi there. My name is Brendan Bowen, and I'm really happy to reinforce what was just said. I do want to ramble just a little bit, though. I saw a list of all the bills that have been going through the state. It was a long list, the state house, and I didn't see any that were there to cancel anything or repeal anything. And then we show up here, and we're starting to repeal things. We're saying, why? What is that for? What's the point of that? And the spirit of recognizing that a business is an entrepreneur is taking a big chance, putting everything on the line, a lender who's taking a chance with that entrepreneur. And so often we see government waiting with a ruler, waiting to smack their hands for wanting to take a chance. And here I'm seeing that that's not the case. You know, we see it all the time. Like one good example is Provo. I remember a brew pub wanted to open up in Provo. And no matter what they tried, they were getting smacked and smacked and smacked and rebuffed and told they can't do this, or they have to do that, or finally they gave up. And I think in Utah, it's one of the few things that have never failed is a brew pub. They don't fail. It's a successful business model, and yet the city council of Provo was trying to destroy it before it could even get started. And so to see, little gestures like this saying, well, what does that business owner need? They're taking a chance. Let's support them rather than fight with them. And just that attitude of camaraderie, recognizing that we are the people, the ones starting business, and all of you are part of that, that it's people just doing these things that just need support and a structure, not to be rebuffed and smacked down. So I just seeing that today was really encouraging, and I want to thank you guys for having that spirit of what it really means to really be part of a community. And it's so powerful to to witness that, sometimes things do go in a better direction than the rest of the world, it seems. But, that's just something I noticed today. I want to thank you guys and recognize that we recognize that as well. All the work done on the canyon and all that, we really appreciate it. Everything we're seeing is positive, no negatives. And, one thing that, being someone, we really like to spend our money here in town as much as possible. And with this coming road widening project on Main Street, parking is really how business is done on Main Street. And I know you guys have talked about it, I know you've looked at it, and I know logistically this is going to be a tough one. but it is incredibly important, and that's just how people stop and do things. That's commerce on Main Street. That's just the reality of it, and I don't know how that's going to look, but it's something that can't be overlooked. is my point. If I can speak for some of the business owners on Main Street, but you know that's going to be a big one. Another point that Diane wanted me to mention is, and you talked about things that are inexpensive and worth doing and bring a lot of positivity. Now that grocery prices and such are skyrocketing, maybe there's some lots that can be set aside for community gardens or something that, you know, volunteers would largely make that happen if there's some sort of a substructure that says, hey, we could allot this, or somebody can say, hey, call me if you have something, and just some sort of agreement there for volunteers to do community gardens, to do more local food and just support people that probably need that. I think it's a great idea, and I know that we've heard of other examples where people have done that, and it doesn't take a lot of land to create a lot of food, and it's the kind of food that we all should be eating anyway.
Diet Coke? Can you?
Yeah, the Diet Coke fruit, you just got to wring that thing out pretty good.
Just curious, that's all.
And with additional growth, with additional businesses, I think it's a pet project of mine. Is something I really like to see is part of why we came to Santaquin is darker skies than everywhere else. And when you guys are talking about what kind of street lighting, what kind of lighting should look like on certain businesses, if we could just emphasize pointing them down, less LEDs, less wattage, you know, things that we can still illuminate without destroying the sky. I think that's important, where, you know, when you go up the canyon, look up the sky, if we see the stars instead of just the city glow, that'd be a nice thing, you know, as a pet project for me.
As our staff reviews planning the ideas, designs that are brought to us, that's one of the considerations that they take in mind is lighting.
Nice.
That we're aware of that.
Yeah, the ancients knew the value of the night sky, and we're going to be the ancients to somebody someday. So, so anyway, thank you guys so much for the positive energy, for the welcoming, the interchange on dialogue. You know, we really appreciate it. So, did I miss anything? Oh, highlighting businesses, local businesses in the newsletter. More highlighting of the locals, just so that we all know. Sometimes I think we need to be reminded of what businesses are there, more often than once, even. Some way, I don't know if it's in the newsletter or even in the open forum out of the city council, to recognize more businesses, the people who are really contributing to the tax base and all that, to keep recognizing that and forward that kind of momentum. So anyway, I think I covered it all, but thank you guys again. We really appreciate you.
Okay. Can I just make a couple of comments here? Because this is still open forum to me. So there's some interesting things that have come up over the last year. One of the ones was, why am I getting a ticket for parking my big rig? I need to go in and sleep. And Jeff and I were talking about this one day, and he said, oh, wouldn't it be nice if we could just find a couple of places? And we talked about a couple of places to go and look at. Some was some property that we had, and it was just too hard to get the rigs in there if that was the case. But I went down to Macy's and talked to the manager. I said, there's a rig parked out there. Do you allow the rigs to park in here? Is there any reason they couldn't? Especially the only nights we're worried about it, well, it comes up every now and again, but the greatest night that we're worried about it is when it's snowing. It just becomes difficult. What have we got? And he said, well, that guy just parked out there. I said, so what if we had a few truck drivers that needed a place to park so they could get a night's sleep and then move on, or the local boys especially? And he said, no problem. come talk to me. I've got room for quite a few out here, and you're more than welcome to them now. If there's a business there, you can't pull into the business and because it'll be under construction. But there's a solution rather than leave it out. And they're willing to just go in and talk. It was a great suggestion. It was a good talk that night about that, to do it. One other thing I wanted to mention was relationship building and taking the high road. Through most of my life, it's been real easy to respond and be a little cross. You know, I made a turn on a yellow light this afternoon when I came down here at 5-6 hours ago, and you know I got flipped off probably 4 or 5 times. But you know, you got to take the high road now and again. And all I said was, "Sorry, we're okay. You know, we'll be just fine." And I didn't hunt the person down or anything else. But relationship building is really good. And meeting with county commissioners, meeting with state senators, meeting with the governor, with the lieutenant governor, with the congressman, and with the senators is just incredible opportunity because it's fun. They know my name now. They dial me on their own phones. And, you know, to get a Merry Christmas from Burgess Owens from his personal cell phone is kind of cool to me. I like that. But it's a relationship.
That's because we're the best town.
Well, and they know that Doug lives there, and so that's why he sent that. That was at the bottom, I'm sure. But I want you to know that there are relationships that we have to do, and we do them because it helps what we're trying to accomplish in this city. And we do struggle at times, but right now, we can get through things, everything. When I saw that Rod's Diner was selling, I just kind of went, oh, I like to go there for lunch now and again. That's a good place. The night that it sold, I got a phone call from Ivanov, that owns Maracas, that owns the Mexican market and the little van. That man's an entrepreneur. He knows how to do business. I don't know what you think, but I love his food. I love the guy. He's a good guy. He and his wife are just the salt of the earth. If you saw what they did for those kids that came home with brand new bicycles in December, you would have had tears in your eyes. That's the kind of people they are. Just incredible. But he said to me, Dan, I wanted to call you first. You're a friend. I bought Rod's Diner, and I'm going to make something new. I had to ask him, well, is it Mexican food, or what are we getting? It's called the Aroma Cafe. It'll be done in about 5 or 6 weeks, and he's going to do just breakfast and lunch, and it's American food. And he is just excited to do that. Relationships count all the way. Everything we do. Even with us on the council, we have a relationship and we can talk together. And I'm grateful for that. Second to the last word, Keith, you're up.
Second, but I'm second to last word. I want to be the last word. Well, first of all, Mayor, I'd like to congratulate you. After a year, you kept your word of what you said you were going to do and come in here and be a mayor. I don't want to offend the mayors that have been here before, but I think you have taken that mayor duty and worked on it and put hours and countless hours into making sure that our city is doing what it needs to do. And I'd like to thank you publicly for that.
Thank you.
Thank our council for working with you and being open to opening our city up, because I know in the past our city has felt the city council will do whatever they want to do, and we are just the pawns in the process. And with that being said, I think our council and you are working very well with our city manager and our staff to look at what the citizens are saying, not to what an agenda is. I'd like to thank you guys all for that, because it takes a lot of sacrifice to be here and to do this, all the time you guys put in to do that. So we appreciate you as a community saying that. A couple of things I wrote down on the agenda tonight as you was going through your year end is one of the things you talked about prospecting and using prospecting. And one of the things I wanted to put down on that with our city is what are we doing with our museum? I mean, as you're looking at prospecting, that museum is full of what Santaquin was made of. And I know that the building has some opportunities that need to be addressed with that building. And I think that's what our council needs to look at, is some of the stuff we could do with maybe some federal funding, some federal projects to be able to help keep our old school together and that museum going that does such great things. I mean, it's only open a few times a year, but when people go into it and get those inspirations of what's going on with it, and with our prospecting theme, I think it's a great thing. Other things I looked at tonight was when we're planning our new industries that's going to be going out on the west side. What is proposed, or what is your vision? I wouldn't say proposed because nothing's been really proposed in business-wise. What is your vision of what that area is going to be looked at with our new one? I know you don't want to have storage units in there to say 50 acres of storage units. We want to have some industrial business and some businesses. What is it? What is the vision of what your mayor on that is?
Do you want me to answer you?
Yeah, if you want to answer that right now.
Do you guys want to help me, or should I just go for it?
Okay. The council can
Go
answer.
for it.
Go for it.
First thing was, I did not want storage sheds. Storage sheds are a means in which the city does not gain anything other than the taxes on the property. If we could get some businesses that sold some things, point of sale, we get point of sale dollars out of the taxes, but we also get the property taxes too. So we wanted to bring in businesses that were not going to be a high demand on our water, on our sewer, on our pressurized irrigation. And in fact, we've gone in there and admonished each of them to use Xeriscape and Zeroscape so that we could minimize the impact, yet we would have pressurized irrigation to their building, to their need. Some of these businesses want to be the home office that shows what they have for a product. Unfortunately, we lost a couple that I really liked. I wish we could get them back. And it's just that we weren't ready in time. But we have one that is very close to closing right now that is pretty cool. It's kind of light industry, and they build machines and they sell them. They sell them on the internet, but point of sale also from here. And they want their home office with 30 employees, but they want to grow it to 10 times that if they can. And so they're looking at the space that they need and what goes on. Others have industrial look. One is a home builder, but he also wants to have his boom trucks there that deliver cement. So or pump cement to the delivery point, as well as HVAC and electrical and plumbing, I think. We have some that are looking right now that auger and place fiber optic in. These are clean industries that all want to grow, and they grow with high-paying jobs in every aspect. And there's a couple that left that I wish we could win back. And things fall into line, the stars line up, we may have them. But I think that pretty much sums it up. However, we've still got the majority of the lots to sell. And this council will discuss them as a board for the CDRA, and we'll do it all in open meetings so that you can see what we're working on, what kind of businesses that are there, and just keep going, you know? That's the idea.
It's awesome. Well, I appreciate your openness and being willing to be open, especially, I mean, I know the council setting, I know how it has to be where you can't answer questions, but tonight's an answer question. But usually, and coming and being part of our little community meetings when we do that and giving us feedback, it really has helped with the confidence we have with everybody. So I appreciate that. One other thing, I know that our city building is designed for expansion. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Absolutely. You're talking about the new one?
New city hall, yes.
Absolutely.
So it's designed with that. Have we done any looking at what we're going to make the back of that property look like? I mean, I know right now it's a park, but I mean, it's where they do the movies and everything else. Have we looked at maybe doing some things, maybe an amphitheater or something like that to bring in some of those things? So.
I defer to the guy that has the whole plan put together, and I love as I go through it.
So that's actually something that's not yet approved, but it's kind of being currently worked on, is the Parks, Recreation, Trails, and Open Space Master Plan. So as you know, last year was the general plan update. That's more of a broad, high look of things that are happening in the community. The master plan dives in a little bit more, and there is a specific plan for that entire block. Obviously, we have City Hall. There's plans for having kind of a stage or even some areas where some events could take place, maybe even places where food trucks could set up and have those types of events, a stage for an amphitheater type of a thing. But really, the council's put a priority on that block in maintaining some of the green space and not necessarily building it all out, but still having the opportunity for it to be enjoyed for city events. I mean, that's kind of the gist of it, and you're welcome to look at that. I think, or as it comes through the process, the council will be looking at that. But yeah, that's the plan right now, and you know, plans can obviously change, but there's some exciting things to be done on that block, and we're just solidifying those in that master plan.
Just likely come forward in the next 30 to 60 days through the process for them to review and for input and that kind of thing. So we'd encourage you to be involved in that as it comes through.
Just so you know, within the city has about 85 acres of parkland. And in this plan that I've seen the first go and where we're starting to work from has layouts of all these parks and how they can be improved for different reasons that will come from input from the citizens. What do you need? Where do you want to go? Do you want a walking park? Do you want this? How are we going to do it? And then we figure out the funding. That's the important way to go. I love, and I can see that Jason held back a little bit. I would love to tell you everything that's going through there. But I want you to know there's some great things happening. And I hope to next year when we do this, that we just break it down and everybody gets a chance to talk and to talk about their responsibilities. You know, there are things that I want to see built in this town, and these councilmen and council lady want to see even more. And it doesn't mean that we're pouring taxes and we're pouring this and that. It's how are we going to do it? My dad always said you don't use the word can't, because it can be done. And we're going to get things done. And to answer your question, I like those parks. I like what Jason has put together on this because it was refreshing to go through.
So just as a note on that, we've talked about the fact that growth has been booming. One of the reasons that we put in nearly $10 million into our parks in the last 10 years has been because of growth. So as growth continues, that allows us to do that. Now, I'm not encouraging growth, and that's not my agenda, but the reality of it is the $5 million that we put in the ground out at Harvest View was 100% funded by impact fees that came from new growth. Same thing with a 2012-ish upgrade to parks, several $1 million for a soccer field and the additional tennis court and the basketball court up on the north end of town at Orchard Cove Park. So there's lots of things that are happening with that. And I would encourage you, there's over a dozen parks that are forthcoming that either have some improvements or don't. You know, one of the things that we've heard is that like with Harvest View, we have to stage that because there's not, I mean, if we were to build the whole of Harvest View Park out, it's probably north of $10 million, but there's not $10 million sitting in the bank. So there's lots of different things that we have to look at, and it becomes council priority as to what they say is the next on the list now that we have Harvest View done. There's still some funding there that we can look towards some new parks and improvements to existing parks.
If I may say one more thing, I appreciate the mayor's confidence in me, but this is not Jason's plan. This is the city's plan, and we have wonderful staff and elected and appointed officials that have all had a hand in these plans. And really, a lot of these plans are perpetuated from decisions that have been made in the past. And so, you know, like the mayor says, we have more detailed plans that lay out all the city's property and what that could be in the future. And the plan we talked about with the City Hall block probably is not going to happen next year or in 2 years or 3 years or whatever. But there's a plan in place for what that's going to look like. And really, that Parks, Recreation, Trails, and Open Space Master Plan is the basis for the impact fees that we receive from new growth. So as those impact fees come in, the City Council has the opportunity to take that money and prioritize what the next project is. And so that's something they do on an annual basis, and we're excited to see these plans continue to work themselves out and come to fruition.
So if the public wanted to look at what the master plan is, where would they find that?
It'll be coming out in the next 60 days.
Or you're welcome to email me, and I'm happy to show you. These plans have been shared in public meetings. Like, I don't, off the top of my head, know what the last meeting was that it was on, because it would be in the packet. But if you want to see, or any residents that are watching this, if they'd like to see more of the plans, they're welcome to contact me or the Community Development Department to get an idea of those things that are being drafted, and which they'll be able to have an opportunity to comment on as it goes through the process for approval.
I would just note that we currently have a master plan that's on our website. If you go to Community Development Department under engineering, all of our master plans, water, PI, sewer, parks, all of our master plans are in there. Those are the ones that are currently adopted. Many of the things that are going forward are continuations of those plans and phasing, but there are some new things in the new. What I would just say is that the new plan is not adopted yet, and so because of that, it is merely a draft, and you have to take that into account until it's adopted by the council 60, 90 days from now. It's not a plan, it's a draft.
I guess what I'm saying is, we're not going to email it to you, or we're going to post it or anything like that. It's a work in progress, but we're happy to show you the work that's being done and which is in progress. So come and meet with me in my office, and we'd love to show you some of these things that are, like I've said, have been on public meetings before, and which are continuing to be refined.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I'll answer your question about the museum too. That's going to stay. We're going to work on it, and this council is in agreement that museum will be here. Now, how we get there, I have no idea. But I can't say it can't be done.
I understand. There's a can't there.
I'll
Thank you.
find something.
Well, the last question I've got is, I know a couple meetings ago I seen we just annexed some more property in to Santaquin City that went down in the orchards in the field to take some more county property there. Didn't it?
No, the annexation that was just done is in Summit Ridge.
I thought there was another piece that was looking down by Spring Lake and all that becoming part of our city.
So what you're probably referring to is our annexation policy plan that says this is what might could be. It's a definite maybe might possibility is what I say.
Okay.
So it is nothing more than a line on a map that is concurrent with an agreement that we currently have with Payson that says these are the lines that the two cities have agreed to, and this is what could happen in the future. We're not annexing anything, we're not forcing anybody, and those will be done according to property owners and their desires. The city has no intent to go out and force, I don't believe, annexations for anything as it happens right now. So I believe you're referring to the annexation policy plan that was just maybe a month or month and a half ago that
yep.
went through.
Okay.
We just had to do that because it was agreements with Payson and us all the way through.
Well, that's
so-
good just to make sure the public is aware of that.
Well, and it's much like our master plans. Our master plans all have a boundary that's bigger than what our current boundary is, because we have to plan for future boundaries, right? We have to plan for that annexation policy plan area. That's what our master plans look at. And so, yeah, very, very good to have that clarification.
Thank you. Well, thank you again. I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight, and
Keith,
thank you again for your time.
Keith, regarding the museum, the staff can correct me because I get things confused, but the museum's open every week, and I think it's Wednesdays from 4 to 6.
Oh, great.
Annette Bott is the manager of that, her and her daughter, Katie.
Okay, that's awesome. So,
Is that right, staff? Wednesday, 4 to 6?
Sure, sounds great.
I don't know the times off the top of my head, but yeah, I think it is.
Are you going to add one thing?
I'm going to add one thing.
No.
I'm gonna do. Okay, no problem.
ahead,
It's fine.
go ahead.
I'm just kidding. The only thing I was going to add is maybe the business of the month could be brought into city council just like we do the employee or the person of the month. Could be.
Don't
brought
we
in.
do that?
That way through the chamber.
The Chamber
Yeah.
of Commerce does that.
Yeah.
What are they doing at the city council where they recognize them? Okay.
Yeah.
It's business of the quarter
It's a
now.
quarter now. They don't do them
But they
on-
do a business highlight every month.
Yeah, they're going to transition to a business of the quarter just because there's only so many businesses. And,
I understand.
And so they thought let's make it a little bit more of a emphasis on a quarterly basis.
Great, because we have some great businesses in
And
town. So
actually through February, the museum's open Mondays 9 to noon, and then Wednesdays 9 to noon, and then 4 to 6.
it's great. Great opportunity to go see our heritage.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you again.
It's on the website.
Yeah.
You can let us make a comment?
Yeah. In fact, go ahead.
Okay, cool. So, I've been thinking about things a lot about, the old social media commentary that we get. And I just want to say that I really appreciated the fact of Doug and Denise inviting me over to those meetings, and that discussion being as open and free as it is. It's just an awesome opportunity to have that one-on-one. And when I look at those things and I see the people that come and do that, and then I have to sit and look at the comments that some make on social media, and I got broad shoulders and I don't mind it. I don't mind the criticism. I only ask that the people that have those feelings and wants to see Santaquin in the way they do, please take a minute and even tonight, get on YouTube and watch what the mayor just did here tonight. And there's going to be people that no matter what we do, there's just going to be those people. But understand that I'm open to listening and to taking anybody's comments, right? So just if you can, encourage your neighbors to look at that video and at least see where Santaquin's heading. And other than that, thank everybody. Thank you.
Is there any report that any of you would like to give?
Just want to let you know that Hot Rod Diner is open in the bowling alley, so you're not missing out. It's still there.
Yes.
I was told today they
they're
were
opened
doing
up
pretty
the-
good.
Yep.
Yeah, good for them.
Say that
The
again?
Hot Rod Diner, that just went for sale, it's at the bowling alley in Payson.
Do you have something, Betsy?
Because I wasn't feeling well for the last meeting, I do have a couple of things, if that's okay.
Sure.
So the Youth City Council has been plenty busy. We hosted a senior citizen board games and bingo day at the senior center over the Christmas break when the kids are out of school, and it was a great success, and everybody had a really fun time. And we had our year planning meeting, so our activities for 2023 are planned and being organized. Last week, on Monday evening, the youth council and Hattie and I went and did random acts of kindness, and the youth council members had prepared little note cards and wrote uplifting and inspiring messages and attached a little candy. So if anyone found those on their car windshields anywhere around town, or received one in any of the businesses that the youth council chose to go through and hand those out, then thank you for accepting them warmly and letting the kids do that. It was really fun. Tomorrow, the youth council and Hattie and I will be spending the day at the state capitol for Local Officials Day, and that is a highlight of the year, so we're all really excited about that. And it's a great opportunity for the youth to learn about state government. When they're here, they learn about city government, and it's important that they learn about state government as well. And hopefully we'll be able to set up a time to meet with House Representative Welton like we have in years past. The seniors continue to have about 100 seniors show up for lunch each week, and that's a pleasure and a delight to attend that and visit with them and get to know them better. And always a good meal and great staff running that program, so I appreciate that a lot. They do field trips for the senior citizens and go see shows and have special dinners and things like that. And so it's just a great program, and we have senior citizens who are coming to Santaquin each week from other communities surrounding who don't have that kind of a program and a service in their own community, and so they're welcomed warmly and able to participate, and that's really great. The library board meeting, quarterly meeting, was last week. They will be beginning sign-ups for their Valentine's fundraiser that will start on January 23rd and go until February 10th. They are doing crumble cookies again that can be delivered to the elementary schools or to homes, and fruit by the foot can be delivered to elementary schools as well. So if anyone wants to sign up and support that fundraiser, contact the library or go to the library to sign up to have a Valentine delivered. And in the last week, I've had meetings with John Bradley and about the Healthy Cities program and historic buildings. We had a Zoom call meeting about historic buildings and the National Historic Registry, and had an appointment with Norm, and we had a good visit about the new City Hall, and that's coming along, and that's very exciting. So a lot of good things are happening, and there's a lot of work being done every week. Thanks.
Okay. You'd think that I didn't have anything else to say, but I don't. I do. I am going to go to the historical preservation meeting and talk with them. We're first on the agenda. We have other meetings we need to be to that night, but it'll go hand in hand with the request that Mr. Evans had, and I think the city will understand everything. So there are plans looking ahead. So, Norm, or Jason, do you have anything?
Yeah, just on that note, just a reminder to council members that the chamber annual banquet is Thursday, 7 to 9. So just a reminder about that. On
Jason,
the top.
sorry to interrupt. I RSVP'd to you about that. But then when I was watching the recording of 2 weeks ago when I was sick, there was some confusion about how many tickets we were going to have.
I've got it all taken care of.
We're good.
Yep. And
Okay.
I've got you down.
I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
On the topic of the Chamber of Commerce, I was informed today that their annual planning session retreat, whatever you call it, is the end of this month. It's it's actually the fifth Tuesday, so I'll be going to that as the representative of the city on the chamber board. I just wanted to let you know about that retreat, so that if you had any feedback or comments or a vision for what more or less you'd like to see out of the chamber, please let me know, because it's helpful to go into that meeting and be able to represent the city with the comments that you have. So I just wanted to let you know about that and welcome any comments that you have. And then finally, let's see, calendar-wise, I was going to let you know that February 16th is the deadline for that moderate income housing plan to be resubmitted, and we have a meeting February 7th, so there's no issue with that. Next Planning Commission meeting, I guess next DRC and Planning Commission, just to give you a heads up of what's coming through the process. For DRC, we've got traffic control request at 200 West, 300 South, which the DRC will be looking at. There is a proposal for the Holiday gas station to expand their site plan to have more gas pumps. We'll be looking at that. And there may be a chance that we'll look at the Nebo School District animal structures that they proposed. And then we will be looking at the Santaquin Peaks Industrial Park subdivision concept plan, as the mayor's talked about the progress of that. Other things that are out there is auto zone commercial site plan, and then the Hollow Flats preliminary plan. That's the development that's in that newly annexed area in Summit Ridge. Planning Commission, we have two public hearings. Again, looking at the Santaquin Peaks Industrial Park subdivision concept plan. And then there's a public hearing related to a requirement for tot lots. We're looking at a current subdivision that the way our code reads right now, they would need a lot of tot lots, and I think this will be a good discussion and a consideration to maybe find a good balance between not just tot lots, but other amenities that would make it a well-planned development. So we'll be looking at that, and I guess aside from that, I think that's all that I have.
Okay. Norm?
I don't have anything, Mayor. I think we've covered most of the projects that you
2 hours
covered.
and 7 minutes,
You've
and you're
covered-
giving up?
You've done a good job. Sorry, I just feels like I just ran out of gas, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
I didn't sleep very well last night, so I'm awake. But I just want to thank everybody that's helped get us to this point. I was warned that if we held this meeting in front of the city, that we could be strung up, and I wasn't the least bit afraid of that. It's taken a lot to get to here. We've put a lot of hours in this year, and we're going to see good things next year too, I promise you. So my big thanks is to this city, to every taxpayer that's here, everybody that has a pothole in front of their house, and everybody that has a worry about whether their toilet's going to flush. We're going to be here, and we're working hard to make it happen. So thank you for coming and putting up with this.